Welcome back to the For the Badge podcast. You know what time it is. It's the World Cup final. The World Cup has finally come to a close. I'm a little bit sad, but it was a wonderful tournament. And there's nowhere else to start. What a final it was. A lot of people saying
Ooh.
it was the best final ever. What do you guys think?
I agree. I actually have been talking to a few people who aren't even soccer fans like you and I, and they were just like, "Oh my gosh, that was incredible!" And I was like, one of my friends, she texted me and she was like, "What is actually happening?" And I just responded, "Greatness," because that's what it was. It was incredible. I was talking to a friend earlier, and I asked him what he thought, and I said, "I don't know. Like I've sat here all day thinking about it, and I can't think of a single situation where you had the two giants of the sport like matching each other in one like performance. Like sometimes you have it in like a 7 game series, you know, what whatever it might be. But I mean, like if you take the football thing, it would be, um, Peyton versus Brady, and that never really lived up to the hype because the Patriots were so great. But to see these two go pretty much, what you could do, I could do better. Was incredible. I mean, I know we were texting back and forth, and it did feel a little kind of shady there for about the first 70 minutes of the game, but after that, it just turned into an all-time classic. Like. My wife was even watching, and she was like on edge, and she's like, "I don't even know these teams." So I mean, I can only imagine how any neutral felt because I'm sitting there like, oh my god, like is this about to happen? And then when Martinez made that save to deny France the cup, that was incredible.
The thing that I found interesting is, and we were talking back and forth, and I mean, I went in and I kind of thought, because I missed the last conversation with you guys, but I went in and thought, you know what? Why I didn't think it would be a walk, but I thought France would show up, and then when France didn't show up and they got down early, I really wasn't rooting for anyone, so to speak. I was rooting for the game, but then when they went up one early on I'm like a kind of a faux penalty. I mean, I get it. You call it. I don't not opposed to it. And then they went up two, and the game got boring. Like it really was boring. It was stale for a long time.
Born and
And
I,
it was
same comment.
yeah, and it was funny because like my girlfriend and I were watching it, and I was sitting there, and we normally were into the games, and both of us was like, this game doesn't feel like it has any energy. It didn't have any energy in half. And then they started making changes, and we chatted about that. And I'm like, some of these changes don't make any sense. And it's funny because my sister makes a joke because like I don't really post in stories on social media. But for the World Cup, I've posted stories for social media the whole time because that's just I have fun with that.
Sure.
And it was just questions, and then all of a sudden I put the question out there. I think you might have commented on it, Jake, or somebody, and I said, "Where's Mbappe and Griezmann?" Right after I said that, Griezmann came. I think he came off, and and then Mbappe went insane immediately after that. And it was funny because I saw a comment on Twitter and it says Mbappe said he's not going to go out like that, so he turned down the Qatari money. And I was like,
I made the same comment. I said Mbappe decided that it wasn't worth throwing the game, and he decided to wake up. There was a
and then,
moment there where I said I actually made the comment. I was so jaded and dejected. I'm like, they're not doing this. They're not throwing this game right now. If this is true, why are we even on the podcast? And then I'm like, if it's all a sham, why are we even here? And then the game
Yeah.
exploded into life. It was incredible.
Well, it felt like I don't know. I mean, one, it did feel like that there was an agreement made, but also it felt like the France kind of noticed something with Argentina that once they started making changes, that you could blitz them. Like you could really, because like I said in the chat with y'all, like France played possum for 70 minutes because that last 20 was a blitzkrieg. I mean, Argentina was lucky to get to extra time at that point. and part of it was because of the way Argentina changed their team up, and I even think Stu Hold'em put it out there, like both teams were so uneven there at the end, because you had Camavinga playing left back for one, which I'm telling you, I was so impressed with him. I mean, he took on Messi and made a great tackle. I mean, what?
Even the blind squirrel finds a nut.
Exactly. I mean, it had to have been one of those situations. But, also it just, you could tell that something was holding Mbappe back. And I even watched it and I'm like, he seems a step slower. And I even said to y'all, France seems a step slower. And I don't know if it was the tactics, because when I took off Giroud, I was like, what are you doing? And I'm still a little questioned that, like, what was Deschamps going with there? But once France decided, like, hey, let's go for it. I mean, it was full speed ahead at that point.
It was also an interesting thing that I've been saying this the whole time. Like, Argentina's defense is not that great, and France looked pedestrian against them. I'm like, are they afraid of them? Like, I was just like, what is this? And I think, Jake, you said something about where is Griezmann. I mean, he was like a legitimate golden ball candidate, and he disappeared in that game. You're like, where is this guy at? And so then all of a sudden, Mbappe scores an insane goal, and then says, nope, I got another one. And then he scores a second one. You're like, what is going on? And it just, then after that, it was funny, we mentioned casuals, sort of mentioned, all of a sudden my phone started lighting up from all kind of people like, are you watching this game? I'm like, what kind of question is that? Of course I'm watching the game. What are you talking about?
Who are you talking to? Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Just text.
But it just showed that, the game, clearly an energy came about it where it like kind of woke up everybody, and then it just turned on. And now that I think the question was stated earlier was this the best World Cup final ever? I mean, I must say, I hope not, because I got a lot more life left. So I would hope that they continue to get better. And
I love how you try to account for the future in your best ever conversations.
Well, but that's why I'm sketchy on the whole GOAT thing, which I'm sure will be a topic as well. But I appreciate the moment, and I would hope that having a moment like this, seeing something like this, makes somebody who's aspiring or young to say, I want to do that and go higher. And so when people, it was funny when people, or some of the Argentine people, were trying to make fun of Mbappe. I'm like, did you watch the same Mbappe I watched? Because he put 4 past your keeper, and I don't know what you think you won from him, because he dominated you, and he only, that was in 20 minutes. Imagine if he was like that from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he took 3 penalties against Martinez, all on the same side, scored all 3 of them.
And Martinez got a hand on every single one of them.
Man, Emi Martinez,
that dude made some money.
If you want to talk about if you want to talk about goalkeeper of the tournament, we'll give some shouts. Sure, Bono has a shout, Livakovic, sure. Man, Emi Martinez is a monster. And I've known it. I've known it for a while. And I if he was still the goalkeeper for Arsenal today, I would have no issue with that. I wouldn't have had an issue with it last season or the season before that. I don't know why we ever burnt Leno. I don't know if Martinez and Arteta maybe something's going on there. But of course I love Aaron Ramsdale, and he's a great keeper, great with his feet, but man just won a World Cup. Man just literally makes the save at the tournament and then saves 2 in the shootout.
That save at the 123rd was insane.
Ooh, that was it.
Chains of Casillas versus Robin.
I mean, that was
the clutch moment, because that was the game. Because if France scores that, I could see them going for more, because they literally they tasted blood, and it was like, let's go. It was exciting to see that, though. I give him a lot of credit.
We're talking about Emi Martinez being successful. How bad was Hugo Lloris, though?
My God, he was terrible. Terrible.
He didn't have a clue.
They pulled the Spurs out of him. They pulled the Spurs Lloris out for the World Cup final.
The funny thing is that he got to a couple of them. They just shot through him, and they weren't even like tough penalties he was missing.
No.
And I'm like, what? is this the end? And I was like, yeah, this is the end. But it was worse because
Messi's penalty looked.
it was so pedestrian, like Messi just kind of passed it in there. Like,
Yeah, he just passed it in because he knew he wasn't going to save it. And the one from maybe it was Dybala, maybe right at him,
Right in the
literally right at him.
Yep.
My man came on in the 119th minute just to take a penalty. There was so much craziness at the end of the game. I missed it. I didn't even realize that Dybala came on the field. And when he steps up for the second penalty, I was like,
Where'd he come from?
wait a minute. And
Well,
then
the
like, yeah, he was subbed in just a minute ago.
The funny thing is, I saw him come on because, and it was sort of a big deal because I think people didn't expect that sub. So I saw him like I was like, they're putting him on now. I was confused by the substitution, but I mean, I guess you give him a chance. But yeah, they didn't seem to. Not only did they not seem to respect Lloris, but it's funny, and we've talked about this. When those France guys walked up there, they looked shook, man. They were like, they didn't want any part of those penalties, which is good that Mbappe went first. But I mean, man, they was like, I don't want none of this, man. You can see it was lost.
We talked about who might be the best penalty kick taker at the tournament. And, you look at, Kane skied one, so that's out. But you look at like Neymar did that craziness. Lewandowski did that craziness. Even Messi was waiting for the goalie to go either way. Mbappe steps up, smashes it 3 times, same spot, whatever. The last one, the biggest penalty of his life, just steps up 1 step, thunderbolt. All right, yep, we got this. No worries.
The funny thing is that, and I, this is not necessarily a transition, but I think you brought it up earlier. It is one of you guys brought it up. It was about just kind of taking on the juggernauts, and I look at it and I say, you know what? I think this is going to motivate Mbappe to be a world beater, man. Like he was mad at the end of that game because
I have never seen a player, because usually players will kind of fake, I have never seen a player walk off the stage like he did. Like he was mad. Like he got the golden boot, and he's just like,
and should have gotten the golden ball as well. But
means nothing.
Do you see the president of France trying to console him? Did y'all see that? And he's just like,
I did, and he's like, nah, I'm good.
Just like looking away, like, nah, don't even. I don't care who you are. Just get away from me.
I wouldn't want any parts of him for the next second half of the season. This guy, I mean, and barring injury, he might have an epic season. And the funny thing is, I saw some of the narrative of, Messi's gonna win the golden the Ballon d'Or, which I mean I wouldn't be opposed to. I mean it's whatever, it's kind of where it is or whatever. But I look at that and I say, I think this guy Mbappe is about to have an insane second half. Like I just think he's gonna be so pissed off for the rest of the year because he was dealing with the whole, is Haaland better than him? Which I'm a City fan, and no, Haaland is not better than him.
No, he's not even close. No offense to Haaland.
No, none. He's not better than him. And then, he plays on a team with Messi and Neymar. And there was always this sort of a friction there. I think he leaves PSG this summer, I think. But I also think he's gonna be a freaking monster for the rest of the year. And I think he's gonna make a push. And it'll be a hard one. He'd have to win everything, but I think he's gonna make a push for that Ballon d'Or this year. He probably won't win it, but I think he's gonna play like that from this point forward.
I mean, there's potential, especially if they come in and nobody can beat him in the Champions League. If he just goes off and he's like, you know what, I'm punishing everyone.
What kind of transfer fee would he get?
Oof.
God.
Oof.
God.
200 million?
More.
250?
I mean, what was Neymar?
Oh, I don't remember.
It was like two something, right?
Was it?
It was 185. It was something crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was ridiculous.
But he gets more than Neymar, easily.
198 million. Wait, hold on. Let's see. PSG matched the 220 222 million euro buyout fee of Barcelona's Neymar converted to a reported 198 million pounds, or 200 million more than the double the previous record. So you're looking at what, 250, 300?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they played Bayern in the round of 16 of the Champions League.
Bayern didn't want any parts of them. I promise you, they don't. They don't want any parts of them.
Thomas Müller going to be wishing Paris was going to pay for it this season.
They don't want any parts of that guy.
They don't want any parts. Yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. I think the stat came out that he's got more goals in the World Cup final than anybody.
He does.
4 or 5 or 23.
That's insane.
Are we going to be saying in 12 years? Are we going to be having this same conversation just about Mbappe?
I don't see why not. I mean, you watched yesterday and you saw the two giants of the game. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Right? Those are the two giants of the game, and they matched each other, shot for shot. I'm telling you, that shot by Mbappe was pure. It was just poetic. It was just gorgeous. I mean, can you talk about any better technique than what he did?
I mean, and it was such a good play all around too. Rabiot chips it up, and Mbappe heads it down, and then runs on and totally does Martinez or whoever it was that was marking him, and it comes back to him. It was all one touch, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna here you go, have some of that." And like I stood up, hands on my head.
Yeah,
like whoa.
And the thing is, it still was overshadowed by everything. Yeah. And I just think you think Cristiano had a chip on his shoulder. This guy is about to have the biggest chip ever. And he's literally accomplished already. And he's going to have the hugest chip on his shoulder. So I look forward, and I hope he's healthy the entire time. And I hope, like people say, well, you can't imagine seeing another Messi and Ronaldo. But if we can get Mbappe and anybody like that's even close to him, it might be some incredible you've never seen. And then we'll have just the sort of the conservation of memories of, but they didn't do this, this, and this, and it's just kind of is what it is. So I'm excited, and that's why I love the tournament. I sent y'all a message earlier that this is the most goals ever scored in the World Cup. Which is beautiful, and some of the goals were like insanely good, and I'm just excited. I'm looking forward to the next one, as long as the president of FIFA doesn't ruin the freaking tournament. But that's another thing.
Hey, we're already going to 48, so I mean,
I actually heard something that said that they might reconsider that because of how successful this tournament was. That they might reconsider that. But that'd be weird. The 48 thing is weird because I don't know if you realize it'll create 3-team groups. So instead of it's going to be 16 groups of 3. And only the best team goes through is how the 48 game structure works. It's really weird. And they did that back in the day where the group stage was when they only had 16 teams. They did that back in the day where the group stage had 3 teams or they didn't have enough teams or something, and it was structured that way. It's a weird structure. And then, in the 80s, there was the double group stage thing that was so dumb. So they've come up with some dumb formats over the years. So who knows how this 48 thing's going to work out. But I hope, I honestly would like it to stay the same.
Yeah.
With you. I think it's a great structure.
I get the money grab thing. I mean, I get it. It's a business. I'm not going to pretend like I don't get that. But I mean, there's something to it. I understand there's tweaks and such there, but I mean, the execution of this one, literally, I mean, think about it. The thoughts of, can Qatar do it? And, human rights stuff acknowledged. The tournament was executed well. And, I just... changing it. Just thinking about it, the one it's in in North America, like all of the structure is there, run it the same way, and not to say that it would be better, but I think it probably would be more fine tuned if you run the same type of tournament. And I just imagine, and then Jerry World, for a final is just, I mean, they're putting 120 in there,
Yeah, yeah.
and that I just think they should leave it alone, and as well as keep it every 4 years and instead of trying to run it more often.
Do you realize that Infantino went to every single match
Yeah.
because everything was so close together? He went to all 64 matches.
During the games that were like at the same time, he like ran to a different stadium at halftime.
Yeah, halftime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I give him credit, but I mean, he's literally, that's like being the president of a company that just runs itself. Like you don't need to do anything. So it's just showing your face.
He's the one that came out smelling good after all of the people who were corrupt, got ousted, and he's the one that comes out of it all. I'm still like uber suspicious of this guy. Like,
I'm telling you, you need to go watch that documentary on Netflix.
Yeah,
because it's interesting that what they did for Qatar is what they did for Argentina in '78 when Argentina won. And it's interesting that Argentina went and won this one too. And of course, Argentina had the best or second best player in the world at the time. But it is interesting. Just little bits and pieces, and you're like,
And Argentina was not the best team in this tournament, but not even close.
No,
not even close.
No.
So, I mean, you kind of leave it what it is, even though, I mean, those new FIFA rankings came out, and I can't even imagine how. First, my biggest criticism is Belgium even being in the top 10. Why are they anywhere near the top 10?
You literally just held a tournament to see who's the best team in the world, and the team that won the tournament to see who's the best team in the world is now not ranked as the what?
What? Did I see Italy in the top 10 as well?
Eighth. Italy is 8th. Colombia is 17th. They weren't even in. Y'all weren't even there.
Yeah.
So, quick question. So Mbappe, I mean, the Argentines used it, I guess, as fuel or whatever. But then I'm seeing a little backlash where Mbappe, made his comment about, the European teams at modern day have the best chances to win the tournament because of just the competition in Europe. And people went in on him, and I'm confused by it because the 90% of all the South American teams, all their players who made the national team, play in Europe. And I'm like, what did he say that was incorrect? Like, I'm trying to figure out what they're talking about.
I think it's just more just more people don't want the World Cup to be over, so they want to make more controversy, more things to talk about. It's like Gary Lineker went on TV and got all upset that the emir of Qatar, the host nation, like the president of the whole thing, put a robe on Messi. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I don't want to butcher it. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but like I read that it's like a traditional gift of respect and honor that he's the president or the emir is giving him, and like you can't refuse that on international television at that moment. But Messi's getting shit for it, for accepting it and not like immediately taking it off. Like, come on, guys, y'all, that's just noise. Y'all are just mad for no reason.
Which is weird because the whole tournament, any social media interaction you saw was, hey, respect the culture. Respect the culture. And then all of a sudden they gave Messi one of the highest things they could give him. And now all of a sudden, well, we can't see his uniform. It's sheer. You literally can see through it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that one was crazy. But my favorite one of all the controversies is, again, Emi Martinez. First of all, I don't know if you read the thing about him talking mad trash to Chutmani, or the guy who missed wide, talking mad trash to him before the penalty, and people are like, I'm like, y'all are surprised by this?
This is what he does.
Of course he's gonna walk up to the guy and be like, your mom last night, you're gonna miss this. You're terrible. Of course, duh. Like, have you not ever played sports ever? Obviously, there's gonna be trash talking. But when my man gets the Golden Glove and on international television with all the eyes of the globe on you, just to the French fan.
Which is hilarious because one of the observations my girlfriend said, she looked at the stadium, she like, everybody in the stadium has an Argentina jersey on. So I'm like, who was that too? That had to be the TV, but it was funny because here's why it was extra funny. I have some Argentine friends that I met in Colombia, but a bunch of Colombian friends, and they were making comments, and a lot of the Colombians really hated that he did that. They hated it, and I mean, I get it. It was kind of like, stay classy, but
Yeah.
I mean, but he showed that's who he was the whole time. This is the dude that was dancing and grittying and just doing everything in the middle of the
This
tournament.
dance after the third penalty. Yeah.
I'm like, this is who he is. I mean, it was low brow, but I mean, what did you expect from him? Like, I'm not mad at it.
Not at all. Not at all. You've just won the greatest, achievement of your entire life. You're on cloud nine. Whatever you want. I don't have any issue with it at all. I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Well, what about, and I saw this because they made a comparison to John Terry. What about Aguero coming on the field in the full uniform and holding Messi up and getting the trophy? Now, I'm an Aguero homer, but I was laughing because I'm like, because we all know if he didn't have the heart condition, he would have been on the team. So it's not like he wouldn't have been there. But I just find it funny that he's getting eaten alive because even John Terry made a joke about it. In his own Twitter post about Aguero being on the field. So what did y'all think about that? I thought it was funny.
Well, I read that Aguero and Messi are like
best friends,
like best besties, and like if my best friend won the World Cup, I'd want to be running on to them to celebrate. Some famous chef guy got to hold the World Cup for and people are outraged about that. So like who cares? It's a party, man.
Oh, I saw that Messi disrespected Salt Bay, and people are like, "But why? Why?" And I'm like, "Because he's Messi. I mean, don't get in his way."
It's hilarious.
So the whole thing. So much stuff was crazy. And one thing that's gotten overshadowed, so overshadowed that we blew right past it, Di Maria, out of nowhere, gets to start in the final. Is that a legacy pick or like my mind is blown? Where does that even come from?
I saw something. Maybe Lewis is about to touch on it too. But in the Copa final, he scored. In the World Cup final, he scored. And there was another final that he scored in.
The plastic trophy final that they gave him.
I think so. Yeah. So like he's like the guy, when it comes to finals for Argentina. So
he is the opposite of Dembele. So it's funny because Aguero was in the locker room with them, and Di Maria told him that. Di Maria and he said, "Hey, I scored in this final, this final, this final." And Aguero was like, "What?" And then he thought about it. He's like, "You did score in all those finals." So maybe he was the talisman, good luck charm. I mean that I'm not gonna call it a dive, but that penalty was where he got blown over by the wind or whatever was the beginning.
He did get his foot. He did get his. He was tripped, but it was soft. I will say that.
He left his foot because he felt the touch.
Oh yeah,
he felt the touch and he just left his foot. He's like,
I mean, that wasn't even the worst dive he did in the whole. Like that's all he did. He got the dive for the penalty. He scored his goal and he dove like 6 more times, and then they took him out of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's exactly what he did.
But South American football.
Argentinian football, folks. That's how we got it. I think that on top of that as well, that definitely makes sense what you're saying. But it fit what they did tactically. Yeah. They just genuinely threw everything they'd done to date out the window as far as tinkering with the midfield. And they said, look, they're playing a 4-3-3. We're going to play a 4-3-3. We're just going to match them. man to man. It's the World Cup final. We're gonna go out there and show we're the better team. We deserve to be here, and for 80 minutes they were. It seemed to work, which I didn't. I thought that I didn't see that coming at all. I thought they would try some kind of overload the midfield or do some kind of tactics. I didn't see the straight up 4-3-3.
I like the bravery of the Argentine manager. I thought he did. I mean, he did what he thought was necessary. I think he knew, what France had, and I think France was just kind of, dumbfounded for a little while. But I did see some questions that I thought were not legitimate, but it does make you go, Does this happen to France if Kanté and Pogba are in that midfield? And I mean, I'm not a what about or what if guy, but I think if Kanté or Pogba is there, I think none of that happens. And I just based on both of them played very well for the flag. But I think France, for who they were, I think they might have came in a little overconfident and were shell shocked initially. And I think the Di Maria pick probably even confused them because they're like, "What is he doing?"
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing? And my guy Alvarez, I mean, I love him, but the shocking that he one didn't get a card, and then two, when they pulled him off, you're just like, okay. The whole thing was just confusing.
Literally every sub confused me.
Yeah.
Like I can count on one hand the amount of first half substitutions I've ever seen. And then in a World Cup final, I was shocked. Like they weren't that bad. Were they sick? Lauren thinks they were all sick.
They played like it at times. I mean, they really did. I mean, there in the beginning, you saw Argentina go right at them, and you were expecting France to respond, and they just, like I said, they looked a step slower, and it's like, huh? I mean, that's why you kind of had questions like, okay, is this fixed or what? But I mean, knowing that was going through the French team, it's possible. But I did want to ask you, Jake. So you're making the back line decision. Would you have played Upamecano over Saliba or Konate? Or no. And I didn't understand that one. I really didn't understand what Deschamps was going with there. I understood Varane, obviously. Theo Hernandez, Kunde, I can understand, even though Kunde plays center back or center back for Barcelona now, doesn't he? He's not a right back.
Really?
I think. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. I know Chelsea wanted him as a center back at least. So I didn't understand that. I know you as an Arsenal fan would agree. Saliba's had a great year, and he really, I mean, he didn't even get on the field. I think except for that throwaway match that they had there at the end of the group.
You can't say it's because it's youth and inexperience because he's the same age as the rest of them. They're all 20 under.
I didn't understand that. I thought that was a piece that just didn't make any sense going into that final.
Maybe just consistency. Upamecano played in every other game except for the semifinal. I thought that was weird too. Konate, for me, it's Konate. I think Konate maybe had some injury coming in, or so that's why
he came back in. But he played in the end.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it just wasn't 100%.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the 30 for 30 or Netflix documentary about this World Cup in 5 years, when we find out that they got poisoned before, and that's the reason that he made those choices. And Messi will be retired then, so then they can talk about whatever they need to talk about and give the honest truth. And it'll be just some crazy, oh my God. And then we'll have to arrest new FIFA people for the corruption that comes out of this 30 for 30. And we'll hear about, 4 people disappearing right before the documentary comes out, because that's what's going to happen. I mean, nothing. I appreciate the pageantry in theater, but nothing about this World Cup felt up and up.
genuine. Yeah.
But I'm glad that they gave us the theater at the end, and respect to Argentina for whatever their part was. They played the game, they played the part. Respect to France. There was there was a lot of questionable things, and it kind of. But for Deschamps, it's funny because he really does some weird things with the personalities of his team, and so while it seems weird on the surface, you look and you say, well, that kind of is there because I mean the story I sent you guys where he told Benzema to go home, like Benzema could have been there, and he's like, nah, I'm good. And you think about the number of players that he said no to. This guy, he clearly knows what he's doing. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock him, but you do kind of look and say, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some definite weird stuff going on there. I always thought that I've always had a ton of respect for Benzema. Always thought he was solid, and I've always done my best to separate the things that these ridiculously rich people do out off the field, and outside of the club, but sometimes it's just tough, you know.
Well,
There's controversy swirling around all kinds of people. Benzema with the sex tape thing, and that's why he wasn't in there in 2018. And now they're trying to bring it back and say that's why he wasn't here this time. And I don't know. It's just one
well,
whole big mess.
it's funny they said Lloris and Griezmann. Now I don't know how real it is, but they said they didn't like him either. So it just makes it all really weird, but it also makes it that much more beautiful that France made it where they did with
Mhm.
all of that controversy surrounding them. And it's there's some Iron Men, man.
I mean,
Tough
we've seen
thing to
some
beat.
great France teams just fall out in the group stage because they don't like each other. What was it, 2014?
I
They
think
were
2010 or something.
2010,
Yeah.
2014, somewhere around there. I mean, yeah, 2010. Wasn't that
Patrice Evra.
Henri's last
Boy, Patrice
try?
Evra with the leading a strike against the coach in the middle of a game.
I mean, just total dysfunction, But I mean, I think that what's going to be interesting is one, what does France do at keeper going forward? Because Lloris just isn't it. I mean, you go into a penalty shootout or a penalty, he's not saving it. He's not even coming close. I mean, you got to have somebody that you can lean on and say he's going to give us a shot. You know,
He might
um,
stop one.
huh?
He might stop one. We need somebody that'll stop one, maybe.
Just one. I just need one, okay? Um, but I think I sent it to y'all. But you look at what France has got in the pipeline, and you're like, my goodness, they're stacked. And it's just gonna be interesting to see who can manage those egos because those guys are gonna be great. I mean, it's not going to be like and we talked about this at the beginning. This Argentina team played for Messi. That team was built for him. They knew that they were there to help him get to where it needed to be, and they were going to be the supporting cast, but they didn't care because they were playing for Messi. And it's going to be interesting to see who can manage these egos because there's going to be a lot of egos in that France team going forward. Especially with Mbappe, like, does the next coach build around him? How does the midfield players take that? Because Camavinga, dude is
Woo,
legit.
woo,
Dude is
man,
legit.
man, he had he had a game.
So, what if he's, top 5 midfielder in the world at that time? You know, I think we talk about Deschamps and he making weird decisions, but he did seem to be able to manage all those egos, and I think that's the biggest thing when you talk about a national team is who can manage those egos, and who can make it to where they play collectively as a team. Because if you think about it, on the national side, you're not there together enough to really gel together. It's come in for a week, okay, you got to go for 2 months. Come in for another 2 weeks, and then you're gone. Okay, it's summer, we have a 4-week, tournament, but that's it.
Zizou, man, it's Zizou.
I mean, well, Deschamps has so much experience. You know, he was captain in '98 on a team that had Henri, Zidane, Barthez, and Deschamps was captain of that team. You know, so he knows all about the egos, and then he's been coach for how long now?
This is
Since like
his
16?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I think
his
so.
fourth
Yeah.
tournament, I think. The fourth overall tournament, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, but you're totally right. It's scary that their whole entire everybody is under 25. And when I was doing my notes, I was thinking about you mentioned how Argentina weren't even the best team in this tournament. Yeah, and I'm thinking if we ran this game 10 times, that maybe happens once.
Yep.
The result
Yep.
we had maybe happens once, and I was thinking the question I typed up was, what's the best World Cup winner ever? And where does this Argentina rank, in a list of World Cup winners? And I had to think to myself, ooh, ew. Oh no, man, that's not great. They're definitely not the best. They're not, for me, definitely not the best World Cup winner ever. That might be
Oh
the
no.
the O2 Brazil squad, maybe. But yeah, I feel like that Brazil team would smash this Argentina squad.
Mhm.
But the question is the reason I bring it up is, what about the French runners up? Where would they how would they stack up against some of the champions of the past, And it's like, man, how did France lose this game?
I think they lost it in their head, I think they would stack up pretty well. I'm not, again, I don't want to take anything away from Argentina because they won. At the end of the day, the winners win. And that's what they were. They won. They had people show up in moments they needed to. Their keeper was the best keeper in the world when he needed to be. Their talisman was the best player in the world when they needed them to be. Their young players were the best young players when they needed to be, and it resulted in the gold medals for them. So, would they stack up against these other teams? I don't think they beat them, but I think the France team is good. But at the end of the day, they didn't win, and it's not about the best team. It's about the best team in the moment. And so you look at that and you say, well, that kind of it's a fair argument, but at the end of the day, emotion bias aside, the team with the trophy was the best team.
Well, I think one of my concerns about France coming in was that youth in the midfield. I think it got exposed a little bit. I mean, truthfully, and it wasn't because Argentina was better. I just think that Messi is just such a handful that some guys can kind of roam and really play at a level to where okay, Messi's going to kind of cover us a little bit here. And I mean, there were some plays in the midfield that I'm like, if it's Pogba, if it's Conte, they probably slow it up, and that was my concern going in. And Chumani and Rabiot had played really well in the tournament. I think Rabiot was sick though. I mean, he just did not look the same.
I agree.
And I think that played a role. I don't think it played the biggest role by any means, but I mean, we looked at back lines, we looked at keeper, we looked at midfields, we looked at attack. I would have given France the attack. I would have given Argentina in the midfield. I would have given France probably the back line, but of course, Argentina had the goalie. So I mean, it was a very even matched team. But I think if you took the collective, or I'm sorry, if you would take people singularly from each team, you would build a team that would have more French players on it compared to Argentina. But again, they just built that team perfectly to make it work for Messi. And you just you just let Messi cook, see what happens.
I think that was their strategy the whole tournament. But I think one thing that we actually haven't touched on that was monumental in this final was I don't think I've seen that many bad touches from Griezmann in the whole tournament combined. before this final. X, what'd you think about Griezmann? I thought he went missing.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was just this. It was just this motif before the France team, and I think y'all were touching on it right when I came in. They just mental. I don't know if they were sick. I don't know if they were unhealthy, but I know for a fact that Griezmann was not the same Griezmann we've seen this entire tournament. And whether he knew he was sick and he let that play a role for him mentally, but you can overplay some of these things, right? Like, oh my God, I'm sick right before a final, and you can't sleep right, and your head's not in it, and that can mess your game up a little, So it's every little nuance to whatever was going on in that French camp. But it was something, because when it's one guy, when it's a one-off, you can be like, oh, no, he just didn't have a good game. It was some hype. They were trying to cover it up. Mbappe didn't show up, so yeah, everybody was sick. When you have players who are known to perform at this level and perform in these games come out, and, Olivier was the same way. That was not the Olivier Giroud we saw this entire tournament. That was not the Antonio Griezmann we saw this entire tournament. And I would say even for, a good 40 minutes, that was not the Mbappe we saw for the entire tournament. So yeah, but now I think Griezmann really dropped the ball here, but I don't want to I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because he had such a good tournament, I want to say, yeah, it was something, and the coach knew it. He just threw him out there, hoping the spirit of that Michael Jordan flu game, I'm playing through it, but you can't do that when you're lined up against what any of that side of the bracket would have brought had it been Brazil or Argentina. You can't line up anyone they probably could have lined up a little sick if it was the USA. You can't line up a player who's not you can't line up a player who's not at 100% at this level here because of who and what they're bringing. Like, if you're even hurt, if you're at 97, I don't care how skilled you are, unless you're Messi or Ronaldo, you probably, which most don't in the game today, you probably shouldn't play the game, because someone who isn't as good is going to just blow by you, because the skill or the physicality level is minute. It's while it looks grandiose because Mbappe runs 23 miles per hour, you have to understand that, who was it? It's one of the receivers in the NFL runs 24 miles per hour. So,
Probably Tyreek Hill.
Cheetah.
It was
Cheetah.
Tyreek Hill. Thank you. It was Tyreek Hill. But so he's faster than Kylian Mbappe, but it's so minute. It's by decimal points. But we see how fast Kylian Mbappe is against people like, I would say, like Antonio Rudiger, who at one point was one of the fastest runners in the Premier League. Because he is his long leg, he can just stretch it out. Yeah, he's just gone. But if you line them up and Antonio had kind of a hurt ankle, he's gone. He's gone. That 0.5 of a difference he had already, plus
1.5.
Yeah, he's gone. And if you line up a person who is not 100% in a game like this, because every Argentinian would have died on that field. They would have They would have Christian Eriksen. Every one of them had a heart attack. Died on that field.
Whoa!
I get what he's saying. I get it though.
Oh man!
I don't think Antonio Griezmann had, like I'm saying, if he's sick, he's sick. But I don't think he would. I don't think he's willing to die on that final field in that game because he didn't look like it. I don't think Olivier Giroud was willing to die on that field because he didn't look like it. He didn't play like it.
How about Varane? Varane looked like he was about to die.
Varane was supposed to be one of the ones that were sick. I remember, I think I texted the group or Jake before the game. I said, I really hope they line up this French defense, because if not, it's going to be a cakewalk for Argentina. And it kind of was.
Where was Saliba? Just slot in my man. He would have had no issue. Oh, my goodness. Well, Lewis said it earlier, and it's something that I've kind of latched on to as I've been thinking about it, kind of, going over it all in my mind. And this was a tournament of moments. That's what the World Cup's all about, and even the tactical stuff you can put aside sometimes, and it's all about those big moments. What are some of your favorites? What's your favorite moment of the tournament, if you had to say? Anyone?
That's a great question.
Besides, obviously, seeing Leo Messi, you know,
The
Honestly,
Giroud goal that didn't count.
the
the Giroud goal that didn't count. Honestly,
bicycle kick, yeah. I mean, I'm biased. There's only one moment.
Yeah, Pulisic.
Pulisic giving the family jewels for the team.
ah,
It's weird. There were so many, and I mean, I guess I'm a victim to recency bias, but that third goal to go that Messi scored, it came out of nowhere, and it was the most messy thing ever, pun intended. But it was just he was. How do you are you in that place right then? After the ball slams into Lloris's face, you just slide it in there. I mean,
he was just there. Yeah, the ball came to him. It was meant to be. Yeah.
right. And so at that point, you kind of felt like it was meant for him to win. And so, I mean, I'm not mad at that because, I mean, obviously Mbappe came back later and scored, but that Messi goal, because you're just like, yeah, it's written in the stars for him, man.
Go back and watch the broadcast for that goal. The noise, man.
Oh
The
yeah.
noise in that place. I'm surprised there wasn't an earthquake like that. I mean, the whole like you were saying earlier that there might have been 10,000, maybe 5,000 France fans, and it was 85,000 Argentina.
Yeah, it was insane.
Great.
Well, I will say this: the moment would have been if Messi had hit that goal that Lloris barely saved. There,
oh my God, yeah,
that was like the moment. He hit that sucker pure. It
Yep.
was beautiful.
absolutely.
I don't even think Lloris really saw it because I think it actually hit his wrist. Like,
No,
he
he
didn't even get a hand on it.
He didn't. Yeah,
he just kind of put up an arm hoping he get something
Yeah.
on it.
Hey,
He reached out and he looked at I think he looked at Varane and he was like, man, I don't know.
yeah.
But that was that moment. That was the moment where, like, for decades to come, if he hits that, like, the people in Argentina have it to, like, they pray to it. Like, it would have been one of those moments.
And my moment's actually really sad because when I watch it, I don't. It's one of
Don't say
those
the
where
Harry Kane penalty.
no, it's not. No, it is the 123rd minute miss or save, however you want to look at this.
That was a save.
Oh yeah.
or
yeah.
save,
That's a
however you want to look
save.
at this. Because had my man been more versed, I believe you play that ball to the left with just a nice touch, and Kylian Mbappe slots that in to have 4 in a final and wins the game. All you have to do is touch it off to the left. He knows he's there, and I truly believe someone else. It's Kylian. He scored 3. I think someone else doesn't take the one touch straight into the keeper.
I don't know, man.
It was so quick. I don't know if he
take
had
it,
a
man.
You
chance.
played
Yeah, I
up
think you
top
take it.
before, dude. Man, I'm
I
seeing
think you take it.
I'm
Easy. Oh, dude.
I'm Vegas in the Mirage at that point, dude. I'm seeing my name in glory.
That's why,
Like-
I mean, I know why he did it. I know the mentality behind it. But if you play that ball, all you have to do is settle it for
that
him.
unselfish.
Well, it's funny. He could see it like who was the last taker for Argentina that won the game?
Montiel.
Montiel.
You saw like after that went in, he didn't even know what to do with himself. He took the shirt off and immediately started crying because he knew. And I'm telling you that there's no way that save had to happen because that's what you see. This is it. I am the hero. And there's the striker's mentality is put in. And it's taking the shot. But I agree with what you that's the smart move. But
did you know that kid? His first or maybe like his second cap was the semifinal.
Oh my god!
And like it's like his third or fourth game in a France shirt, and he's missed the breakaway in the final.
Oh,
But he come on and he was on for 17 seconds in the semifinal and scored the second goal.
he
like,
did.
I
He
get
did.
it, bro. I get it. I do. I understand where he's at. I just if you play that, if you give it up, if you are that unselfish, that is
Oh
such
my
an
God.
easy goal. It is a wide open net for practically one of the best strikers we'll ever see to slot 4 in a final. How are you not thinking that when you're making that run? Is Killian's beside me for like?
Yeah. Not even Leo Messi. And I saw a little video montage of Neymar goes for it, Ronaldo goes for it,
Right.
this guy shoots, and this guy shoots, and this guy shoots, and Messi passes it off. Okay, even Messi is taking the
Messi's taking that shot.
Yes. Yeah.
okay.
Messi's taking
But
that
I
shot.
understand. I understand what you're saying, though. I totally get it.
You win the game. Like, you know it's a guaranteed win. Like, I get it though. In the moment, I'm taking this. Like, I don't want to put that out there and act like I'm not doing it myself. I'm just, when I watch the replay, it is so apparent of the play that it's so easy to see, like, on tape. Like, if I was coaching, if I were replaying that for my squad, I would say, this is the one you need to learn from in this situation. This is the one where you slot it up. Like, is the easiest FIFA goal you will ever score.
Well,
I think my moment of the tournament, now that I thought about it, is how Lukaku did not score a goal.
oh my God. That's still baffling. I still like.
I think he was paid. You have to mean to
No,
miss when you're
there's
that
no way.
open.
You can't even try to miss that bad.
That's
Like,
what I'm
you-
saying.
He
That's
had
what I'm
to
saying.
bounce
You
off of
can't.
his chest that he
Dude,
should
that
have.
was so bad. You can't even like be trying. You can't even make it
That's
that
what I'm
bad.
saying. Oh man.
That was incredible, man. That was, oh my goodness.
Well, it's funny because I saw, I mean, obviously they had pundits do, the 11 of the tournament, and then somebody did the not 11 of the tournament, and I'm surprised that Lukaku wasn't up there and his touch a brick. I
How is
mean,
he
but
not?
oof.
Oh, he's definitely up there for me.
He's the
Him
first
and
name on
Mendy.
the team sheet of the not 11.
He's the first, and then Mendy's
I don't
second.
know. I don't know. Maybe Martinez. Lautaro
Yes.
Martinez was terrible too.
He's
Poor
a-
Inter. Poor Inter.
Yeah, oh God. Oh.
I love it how they were bragging about, like, oh, an Inter player's been in a World Cup, this many World Cup games because okay, good rep.
Hasn't been in the last 12 finals or something like that.
Yeah,
They
good rep.
sucked in the last 12 finals. Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
but no, Harry Kane's miss still haunts me in my sleep. It's even worse because I hate Tottenham so much. So it's like I get to just hate him in my sleep. So it's nice.
You didn't have to do that.
I still think he
Again.
leaves because of that.
Spursy came
I
to the
don't think-
World Cup with Lloris in goal for those penalty kicks.
Ooh.
Oh my God, Spurs still haven't won a trophy.
Oh, what a
That's
time to be a
so
Spurs
funny.
fan, man.
Be a Spurs fan. Good for you. Oh man. I have like a bunch of different kind of moments. It's cool that you guys went ahead and went into it. I think one of my crazy moments is Edinson Cavani destroying the VAR screen after the Uruguay are knocked out of the tournament.
He was upset.
Chasing the ref
Just a
down.
little
They were
bit. Just a little bit.
angry. They were angry.
Oh my God, man. You might as well
I'm just surprised that that Suarez didn't bite somebody.
yeah.
He
Like,
wa-
how did
he
he make
wanted
I
to.
mean,
He wanted to.
How did
you know
make
he wanted
that
to.
without coming to the bloodlust? Like,
I'm telling you though, if Italy doesn't make it to the North America World Cup, there's something to that. I'm telling you.
especially after that commercial they ran 9,000 times, where he's like, we'll be back in 2026, and Carlos Valderrama for some reason is like, oh, por supuesto.
But what's funny is that you think about it, and I mean, I get it, there's qualifying, but how do you win the Euros and don't make the World Cup? It just feels so weird to win a major tournament and then
Hey,
not
Alex,
make.
have y'all fired Jorginho yet?
Who's gonna replace him?
Buy Amrabat. There you go. Buy the Moroccan center defensive
Our
player.
January transfer rumor mill is just stupid right now.
You're buying everyone. That's what's
Everyone.
People, right? Because I mean, I get it. We still had a huge amount of money to spend because we didn't. In reality, to what we had to spend, Tuchel was put on a very tight chain in that window. Like
Well,
you almost had three.
Take your pick of the Morocco squad, man. You need to.
Yeah.
Bowley needs to.
Oh, we're getting rid of Ziyech though, so I mean, you know.
Yeah, Ziyech gets sold.
Well, he only plays for Morocco. He
I
doesn't.
think we have. I think we have more players going out in January than I think we'll buy maybe one or two and not fix anything. Limp through the rest of the season, and then in the summer window when we get our striker, when we get the people who we think we're going to build this next generation of Chelsea around. That's when you'll see us. We're just gonna. I seriously think, and that's what scares me the most is that Potter might stay. Like he might not get
He's
sacked.
going to stay. I'm
No
telling
matter
you.
no matter how bad it gets, if we go
As
out to
long as
Mauricio,
we don't get relegated, he's going to
right?
stay. I'm
If
telling
it's,
you.
and this is the scariest thing because like we might lose to like it's not doom and gloom. It's if I hope we're really healthy, but I don't think if we do bad, if we do poorly, if we do limp through January, don't fix the holes, anyway. Well, that's our whole nother.
That's next week. That's the very next episode.
It's a
Yeah.
And then
very
in the
next
end, we buy Mbappe for 300 million. You know,
We'd have to sell the club.
Worth it. Worth it.
Worth it.
totally worth it.
Everybody.
Hey,
We
have
already
y'all
missed
seen the
it.
quote floating around about Chelsea and Mbappe? I know it.
No.
I know X has probably seen it, right?
No, I saw
No.
the layout.
So there was a quote about how he did a 4-day trial with Chelsea when he was
Oh
like
yeah,
8 or 9 or something like that.
I did see that.
And Chelsea didn't want to bring him back because he wouldn't play defensively like they do in England. And so his mother said, if you don't sign him now, you'll be wishing you signed him because he'll be going for 50 million in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
He was like 10 or 12 at the time.
Got him.
Yeah. I mean, total applause, Miss Mbappe. I mean,
Talk about your missed
Yes.
opportunities. Man, that's all y'all do is miss opportunities. Y'all should have Holland too. Like, come on.
The funny thing is why we can make fun of Chelsea. It's not like their trophy cabinet is empty though. They've won, so I give them credit. And a lot of times you look at it like a lot of these guys, where would you have played them? Would they have gotten as good as they are now in the system they have? And I think so. Fair play to Chelsea that they did what they needed to do in the time, and they did have success.
Right, there would be no Mo Salah had Mo Salah stayed at Chelsea. We would
Right,
have played him as a flyer. He would have never scored goals. He would have been a supporting cast member to send balls through the middle.
And De Bruyne wouldn't have been De Bruyne if he had not been rejected.
Negative club.
Lukaku still would have been
Oh,
Lukaku though. Lukaku
we're
still would have
toxic.
had terrible touch,
Oh, yeah.
and Lukaku
Oh, yeah.
still would have been who he is. He's a better footballer than I'll ever be in life, but I can be critical because some of the ones he's missed I could have made. So I'm gonna be critical.
I don't think he is. I don't think he is better than anyone on this podcast. I don't care who you are. He's just big. He's just big and fast. They just throw stuff at him. He's not good. He's not. He's never been good.
I mean, we saw it at Everton.
Kind of decent.
I want to see his chances versus converted ratio season for his career. I want to see every shot he's ever taken versus what went in, and then versus touches taken versus what he's lost. That's the two stats I want to see on Romelu Lukaku.
No, you don't. You'd cry. That would just hurt. That would just hurt. Yeah.
That
Also
was one of
knowing
the
that we
crazy-
spent 100 million on him too, that will just make it hurt even
That's
more.
what makes you cry.
That was a very crazy moment though. The Uruguay and the Lukaku. I swear he had betting odds. You have to mean to miss.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. So what's I guess this is some low hanging fruit, but we'll go ahead and talk it out there. It needs to be said. What's your best story? Best most inspiring story of the tournament? I mean, for me, there's only one answer.
Oh, the Ochoa show,
two.
man. I enjoyed it in Mexico. I enjoyed him coming back out. I enjoyed him putting on a show, being a good keeper. Like I enjoyed it.
Overshadowed. That was awesome. Don't get me wrong. Overshadowed because of Mexico were so bad.
Oh yeah, I know. But it was really good to see.
Saudi Arabia beating Argentina.
And then the coach says Argentina will go on to win the tournament now.
Yeah.
Like what? No, but you got
just seeing what it. I mean, just like we saw with Morocco, but just seeing what it meant to the Saudi Arabia fans and that's a big moment. It's a big moment.
massive moment. They all won Rolls Royces.
Yeah, exactly. They all got a Rolls Royce. So I mean, but I think it's interesting. When you talk about situations like that, and we talked about it in the beginning, like what country in that area is gonna stand up and make a statement, and uh hold on. And I think that Saudi Arabia was on that trajectory, but they kind of got big heads after beating Argentina.
Yes.
I mean, how could you not?
Exactly.
I'm gonna take a left field flyer, and I'm going to go with Eto choosing the Morocco match.
Morocco all the way to the final.
I'm gonna go with that
Oh my
because
God, that
people
was,
ignored that his whole bracket was wrong with the exception of that game, but
Yeah.
he did get that one. So I'm gonna go with that because obviously Morocco for me is a story, but choosing that matchup and how everyone ignored everything else being wrong. I'm 99% wrong, but I got the one odd one right.
Yeah,
One.
that's
I mean, that's so Eto though, right? Like that's just that encompasses so much about him. Like
that's funny. Who do you thought? What nation brought the best fans? You think?
ooh.
Morocco.
I mean, Senegal had some nice.
Senegal had some good
There's
fans too.
fans.
Forgot
Oh, the
about them.
Africans always have
Yeah,
a
Senegal's fun.
they treat it like a show. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm going for the
Um,
clickbait, Croatia.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always colorful, man.
I know why you're saying Croatia. I
Clickbait.
know
We
why
all
you're saying
knew.
Croatia.
Okay, yeah, I saw all that as well. So yeah, that makes sense. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I understand.
I'm shocked there weren't any arrests. That's all I'm gonna say.
How about the not a single British person went to jail?
My boys, we do know how to act.
That's got to be a first.
It's got to be
That
first.
has to be a first since
Gotta be-
1950, since
There's no
Britain,
drinking.
since the England's first ever World Cup appearance in 1950. That has to be a first. That
Gotta be
nobody got arrested.
There's no alcohol. Do you know how many how many Brits are gonna get arrested when they come here? It's gonna
And
be awesome.
it's the last time too.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. For sure, man. It's gonna be a man. Honestly, I know it's way far away, and we're still talking about the last one, but like I really hope. I kind of just want to go spend the night in one of the cities, even if I don't get to go to the game, and just like be there. Like, did you guys see? I'm sure you've looked up some of the stuff, some of the Snapchats and reels and videos from down in Argentina. I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
I want to be a part of that, man.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
They filled the streets. It's a national holiday today. Like the entire nation is blowing horn. Like I saw one thing where the guy's on his balcony and he's just filming out of his window, like out off his balcony, just filming somewhere in Buenos Aires, and it's as loud as the stadium.
Oh yeah.
It's as
Did you
loud.
see the obelisk? Like there, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It's awesome.
insane.
There was aerial views of the obelisk, the place where the
Yeah.
obelisk is,
Yeah.
like you were saying. Oh man,
Awesome.
amazing,
No,
amazing.
if England plays the U.S., Jake will be there. I'll guarantee us to be there.
Yes,
If England plays the U.S. again, I will guarantee us to
we'll
be there.
sneak in. We'll get there somehow.
I'll we'll get
I
it.
was
I'll
sitting
get
here
it.
thinking about, like, I was looking at the map today and I'm like, okay, what's a cluster? Like a cluster of stadiums, cities that you can do. Like, you've got Toronto, New York, Boston, right? Maybe Philadelphia. You
South
could do, one of the Mexico cities, maybe Guadalajara, maybe. I
Yeah.
can't remember right off
Yes,
the top of my
south
head.
of Cancun.
Hold on.
And then
Nope.
Houston to Dallas,
Right.
or you could do Vancouver, Seattle to LA, or something like that. So I'm like,
West Coast
find the
game.
right cluster and just make a trip of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be epic. I mean, for however long now, it was probably since I saw the movie Green Street Hooligans.
Yeah.
You guys remember that movie?
Yeah.
Where they were in the pub before the game, partying and drinking and carrying on, and then they together as a group walked to
Yep.
the stadium singing songs, and I've just wanted to be a part of something like that
Same.
for
It's coming, man. It's
You know,
coming.
Yeah. It's coming.
and I'm pumped for it.
Well, that's why if we ever do go to a Chelsea Arsenal game, like we want to do, we'll go to the pub, we'll ride the subway, we'll go in, we'll do it from the street
With the hooligans,
to the stadium. Yeah.
with the craziness.
Oh yeah, with all the craziness. Just I'm not saying a word either. I'm just gonna and so enthralled by it. It's gonna be awesome.
My World Cup goal for the North American one is I actually want to go. I'm actually not even caring how much money it costs, but I want to go to a game in Mexico, obviously here in the States, and then a Canadian one. I want to go to one in each one, just
That'd be awesome.
for the feeling. Like,
Yep.
just imagine the Azteca when Mexico
Oh, that's
comes
what I'm
out.
saying.
Oh,
God, just
Are you
I can't-
kidding me?
Ooh,
Yeah.
I just,
Chill, man.
man.
I love that stadium. Like that's one of my
Man.
I hate that it's in Mexico City. I love the Azteca. I think that stadium is amazing.
It's one of the most historic stadiums on the planet, man. It's had
Mhm.
two World Cup finals already. It's
Where do you think would be like we would get sort of a reception like that? Because I'm looking at the host cities in the States is Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, and LA,
Kansas
Miami.
City.
well, the
New
U.S.
York.
men's national team is undefeated in Seattle.
And I was going to say
It'd
Seattle's
be
one.
it'd be the Northeast.
So
Seattle, because
Seattle or
Seattle's-
Kansas City?
Right, Seattle Seahawks set the record for being the loudest crowd in the NFL in an
Yeah,
open stadium.
the
In an
12s.
open stadium. That's not a
Yeah.
dome.
Yeah,
Because I want to see where that'd be. But would they put the U.S. in one of those stadiums? And then in
For
Canada,
sure, Kansas City they would.
yeah, for sure. But like in Canada, you got Toronto and Vancouver. I mean, do they respond like that in Toronto or Vancouver? Maybe Vancouver, just to keep it in the north. I guess
Canada
it's
have
not
enough
their
people to
northwest.
fill a stadium?
Do what?
Does Canada have enough people to fill a stadium?
I know, right?
No, that's awesome.
Well,
It'll be-
BMO, wouldn't they play at BMO in Toronto?
In Toronto, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Where is Canada's home games? Like, where did we go to play
BMO.
qualifying? Yeah.
I think no, we played in Calgary one point, if I remember right.
The
Here's a
USA
question.
Canada game, I think, was in Calgary. I think you're
Yeah,
right.
Here's a good question for you guys. Where does the Americans win the cup? Where's our Buenos Aires? Where is our
New York City.
conglomerate? You think, oh yeah, New York. New York would just flood. Yeah,
I don't
you're right.
know.
I don't know.
I don't
DC,
You don't
I
think
don't
so?
know.
You think DC?
Chicago?
I think
No.
Seattle?
I'm thinking I'm gonna go with, if you want to, for the ambiance, I'm
Yeah.
thinking Seattle, or I'm thinking somewhere like Miami or somewhere in California, like LA. I just
Oh,
think
like LA.
I think where there's sort of the
Riots
sort of
on the streets
mixed
of LA.
population with, like a lot of first generation Americans and stuff, because that's what the team will be, right?
Right.
At that point, I think at LA, Miami. I mean, the traditional cities, yeah, but they're not gonna like be hyped up like,
Right.
how mixed the team is, and they also have to be like footballs, and I mean football and
Yes,
soccer
right.
cities.
Right.
So-
right.
I think maybe LA or Miami might be the place, or Seattle.
Yeah.
So that's your what's your favorite World Cup goal? I guess, Jake, since you had kind of a thing going.
The best goal of this tournament?
Yeah.
Ooh. Is it best goal or my favorite goal?
Like the best goal, like skilled. This was the best goal in the tournament.
That's a great question. That's a really good question. Because there was some really nice team goals. Then there were some really nice individual goals. Giroud's goal that didn't count.
Drew's goal didn't count. Yo,
The
Whoa.
bicycle, Giroud's
It was
bike-
incredible. It really was.
the man went for it. Like he knew he didn't count.
I don't know though. The Mbappe's second goal,
The second goal.
God, it was beautiful.
because the chip from Rabiot, the head down, it was all one touch. Rabiot chips it, Mbappe heads it down. His defender's bamboozled, and he runs by him. And
It's hard to
like
defend a
that,
gazelle.
that skill. Like, how many times do you go for that and it just scuffs, and you put so much backspin on it because you mishit it? You know,
Or
not
you
in
sail that, or you sail that shot because the lean he
Mhm.
had going. You have to
Not
counter
in-
that.
He's got the angle right. He's leaning
Right.
to the side. He's hit it. I mean, and it was a rocket. I mean, it was
Mhm.
absolute
I
rocket.
know I hate him, and it's only solely because of who he plays for, but I do think Richarlison's goal was quite talented.
Epic goal, but
Epic goal. Talented. Like, shocked he went for that. Shocked he went for that.
I'm not shocked that a
I'm not.
Brazilian
He's Brazilian, man.
He's Brazilian, exactly.
This is true. They're all like capoeira and stuff. They just incorporate it.
How
about-
about Neymar's goal against oh God, who was it against? Croatia?
The first one,
Or
Or
his
like-
goal in overtime?
where he
His
went
goal in
off-
overtime.
Goal in overtime was sick. Yeah, into the roof of the net. Yeah,
Mhm.
in the 113th minute or whatever.
He did the dribbling around and I mean that was pretty good
It's a
too.
Neymar goal. Yeah.
It was.
Holland's, or what about the Netherlands free kick to tie Argentina?
Yo.
Yeah.
19th.
Overshadowed by the loss. Immediately overshadowed by how bad they did in PKs. But
Well,
amazing chess. It was chess. It was just chess. They knew
That
they
was-
all
that
thought
was
this is what
so
England should have
clever.
done. Honestly, England should have took this page instead of Rashford going for glory and blasting it, dink it into Kane, let him head one in, boom, now here we are in shootouts again. Or to ends the game. Like, bro, what a goal. You're right. Like, it's immediately overshadowed and I forgot about it. But I remember in that moment, I was losing my absolute mind. I was like, A, there's no way they just did that. B, the timing of this is like
Exactly. It was the last kick.
Argentina kept
Yeah.
trying to get robbed from this tournament, and like they barely escaped by the skin of their teeth time and time and time again, which is where I immediately agree with Lewis. And I think you said it before the tournament, Jake. It did not matter. It was the Benzema run in the UEFA. Argentina was meant to win this before anyone stepped onto these fields. And it's not, oh, it was planned, oh, it was rigged, or oh, the Qatar had something to do with it. Ain't none of that's gonna. They had it written from the beginning because there were so many moments where the other team could have just, you know how easy it is for Martinez to miss that ball off the one touch. He's literally has his eyes closed. He's praying to. They had to sacrifice
He's just
so.
big.
He
Just
I'm
big.
big,
Yeah.
and my boy smacks him, but. Again, that's so easy to lose by. 2 inches higher, he misses it, and that's a goal in the 123rd. You're not coming back from that. I don't care who you are or how rigged it is or anything, or how bad the refs were. Or that was offsides or not. So many of these instances could have been over again if the Netherlands show up in PKs like they should have. If Giroud and Griezmann are on for PKs like they should have been. Classic French move, by the way. Good job, boys. Classic French move. Losing a final, you don't know how to field PKs.
The funny thing is one of my buddies, he's a United fan. On that Mbappe cross where I forget who the striker was. He missed it and he said if he had a high top Ronaldo haircut.
Oh
it
yeah,
goes in.
yeah.
And Jake,
And Mbappe
Jake
almost scored it.
right, but Jake immediately was like, Giroud finishes that.
Giroud
And I'm like,
finishes He does.
He does. He finishes
Yeah.
that.
Oh my.
He mistimed his jump. That's why. He
Yeah.
was coming down as the ball was coming towards him.
Yep.
It was just amazing to me about the lack of experience here in this French squad for how young they really are, and some of these players that were fielded really got this final really proved at the youth of that squad, and it finally showed its face, and it was just at the wrong moment. But yeah, so that would have been for sure.
Was this the best World Cup ever?
That's tough.
My bias is immediately in in the Spain win.
Really?
Yeah, South Africa.
Spain team.
South
that Spain-
Africa was awesome.
South Africa was great. That Spain
Yeah.
team was 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. It was all
Those-
1-0s.
The 118th minute win final. Last
Yeah.
ditch.
Germany
It's,
won up 114th.
I mean, yeah, Mario Götze robbed my man. He should have 2 World Cups. I mean, he should be tied with Maradona right now.
I mean, until this tournament, I would have said the last one was the best World Cup
Yeah,
that
it was pretty
Russia?
good.
I've seen.
The final ruined that one for me, to be really honest with you. I felt like Croatia
Wow.
was completely overwhelmed in that final.
It's a great
Well,
fight.
yeah, they played 2 extra games.
Yeah, true. They really did.
I mean, they played 2 extra games.
They really did.
I mean,
Lewis had
recency bias is going to say this one, and it would be hard to argue against it. I was hearing like,
Brazil.
let's see, most goals, most shootouts.
Yep.
What was the other thing? It was the most minutes played in a World Cup.
Yeah,
Because
they didn't play.
Because of all the extra time, yeah.
so I mean, I think, and we talked about coming into it. It was, what are we going to see? And I think because, and I still don't like it, mind you, but I think because of the way it was set up, it was the most evenly matched World Cup, top to bottom, except for Qatar. Screw them.
They weren't great.
They were terrible. But I mean, you look at Morocco, you look at Saudi Arabia, you look at Iran. Even other than getting ran by England, I mean, and I think part of that was because that keeper went out early. I mean, when he came back, he played pretty well. He played well against Wales. He played well against US. I mean, England's still going to win that, but I just don't think they destroyed him like they did. But I mean, even the weaker teams were very evenly matched. There was not a lot of like, well, we did have
3-0, yeah.
we had Spain against Costa Rica, then Costa Rica storms back. We had Brazil against Switzerland, right? I think it was. They did a number on them. But I mean, I felt like coming in that the talent was for all the top tier teams was going to just run through it.
Yep.
And I think because these guys are kind of tired already, that some of these other teams that maybe have guys that maybe aren't at the top level, but they still play, had more of a chance. I mean, that's why we saw Saudi Arabia pull it off against Argentina and Iran against Wales.
I think it lends the question to would they do another mid-season tournament? Because I mean, while in general, I and I guess it's sort of being conservative. I'm opposed to it just because of how it affects the league seasons. But I mean, a big concern was how that would work, and you got some really good football out of this, and you just wonder, depending on how the rest of the league season finishes, would they do this again? I mean, obviously, the only place that they could hold like a mid-season tournament like this would be in the Middle East, because if you go to South America or anybody where else where it's obviously the seasons are the opposite, maybe Australia, I guess, would be the only other place I think of.
Australia would be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
But then even then, do you do that mid-season? I think the weather's still good enough there in the June, July time period where you could still run the tournament at that time. So I think playing the tournament when they did, I think will come up again, because I saw some comments where he's like, hey, can Qatar host another one? And I'm like, I'm not forgetting, everything that led up to this. I mean, I appreciate what the tournament was, but let's not forget, what this was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that I would hate for it to be in the middle of the season again. You obviously can't do that here because no, you're not interrupting soccer season here, but you're interrupting the NFL.
That's not going to happen.
With
It's cold. It's freaking
That's
cold.
not going to happen,
You're interrupting college football bowl season.
No, that's not
know,
going to happen.
NCAA basketball is about to kick off. There's all kinds of stuff going on right now in America that you could never do that here. I
The
hate
NBA season just started.
Well,
Like, it's not going to happen.
the middle of here in America. The middle of the winter is terrible.
Yeah, so I'm just looking because I know that they're already bidding on it, but Saudi Arabia's bidding on 2030, and they've already got Cristiano Ronaldo and Leo Messi to be ambassadors for them for that World Cup.
So
then
you
they
mean
win.
that they got it for 2030?
That 2030's in Saudi, boys.
That sounds like they've got it. Yeah.
2030's in Saudi,
Yeah.
boys. Book your tickets.
Yeah,
Just
they're bidding on it, but I mean,
You're not. They win if they have.
it comes down to Saudi or it comes down to
Qatar.
Uruguay, I think.
So it's
Saudi's
Saudi.
got it. Saudi wins.
Got you.
If I'm a bet the farm, actually, I'm going to bet enough to win tickets to go to Saudi on Saudi.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
And then now that you mentioned that, I would then say maybe they do it on a cycle where every other World Cup, where one is in the summer and then the next one is in mid-season.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean, I just
I
feel
don't
like
know.
domestic clubs in Europe and will just raise so much hell.
They will. They'll
protest
start
so
messing.
much.
They'll start messing with the cup. If this is consistent on this, you will see clubs pull that Barcelona stuff where they threatened to do with Messi way back when, where we're keeping him home. It's clubs. We paid money for this. This matters. We've invested this in him and in these players. This is for show. Like this, we don't get a big payout from that. We can make the payout for the final in 3 Sundays playing this guy on the field because people are going to watch it in the television contract we have. I see the clubs start messing with the cup, and that's not going to bid well for the cup because I always had the kind of inclination that might have happened this year. Like I know I flirted with the idea. I was like, there were so many instances where those players went home right before the cup. Like, hey, I got hurt 3 days before the cup, or I got hurt the game before the cup. And, it's not, I don't put it past these clubs to look at some of these players and go, you're staying home. We need you. Or had the conversation with them at least. Or, hey, were you willing to do this? Like, it is the World Cup and it means the world to some players, but I know a lot of them players still sell out. The club doesn't mean as much. That's the whole reason we kind of started this, because the for the badge atmosphere has kind of gone out the window. Some of these boys aren't playing for clubs that they were aren't for countries that they were necessarily even born and raised in. It's losing its I think in that mindset, if I'm from Cameroon, I was born in Cameroon, I was there till I was 12. Then I moved to France. Now I have French citizenship. France grants me all the rights to do so. And now I can play for France as a national squad if I choose to do so and register with FIFA before I register anything or ever play for Cameroon. I can choose one. And of course, if you have the opportunity, I'm going to choose France all day because look who I get to play with. Like, no duh. There's not a lot of Sadio Mane's left, is what I'm trying to get at. And when a club comes up to you and you already have that mindset to sell out for millions of dollars, I think the clubs really, if it's every other season like this or if it alternates, I hope it's a rarity. Like I would love to see it mid-season sometimes because I think Lewis, you hit the nail on the head. We had some amazing in-form talent football going on, and you can tell that it was in form. You could tell these guys were not rusty. They could come in, they needed 2 weeks to play together, and they were like, oh, you want this system? We got that because we practiced that, 2 weeks ago. I think that had a huge reason to play with why we kind of had this quality in the tournament. More goals, more ties, a little less fouls. I'm shocked the English team got the Fair Play Award. They had one booking. They had one booking the entire tournament, and it came to Harry Maguire in the France game. No yellow cards the entire tournament until that match.
The funny thing is that I not only fair play to them, but I think even though they lost, England played really well, and I knew we talked about it before. But I'm gonna give Southgate. I would give him another chance for the Euros and kind of see where he goes from there, because I think if he wins the Euros, he for sure stays around for the next one, and I think he did a good job. I mean, I know he catches a lot of slack and stuff, but just kind of you talking about England, I think that, they were surprising. And they this next Continental Cup is really, really going to be important because these guys are super prime at that time.
Oh, yeah.
I do have a sort of a random question. It's not random, but it's a sort of in a different direction. I'm guessing this is going to come. So is Messi the GOAT? Because you know how I feel about GOATs. I'm a future forward thinking, but is he the GOAT? And I'm gonna challenge it with this. They said something about Messi and he's won everything, and then they said, well, but Pele has 3, and you think, well, for the accolades, Pele doesn't have them, but that's because the world was very different. And if you were starting a team and you had to choose between Messi and Pele, who do you take, right? And I mean, I'm being honest. I would take Pele. I mean, I love Messi, but I would take Pele.
Pele, because, and this is my argument against, or it was my argument before obviously that the argument has been settled. I truly believe, and this is where a lot of people sway with this, Messi v. Ronaldo is settled.
Yes.
Now that is settled. So the greatest player of our generation, the greatest player of our time, this era that we've watched in football, that's now settled. Now that Messi gets to walk away with this and hang his hat on that. He will forever now be one step ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo, no matter the goals, no matter what trophies he wins from here on out. He will always have that one thing that he doesn't, which does that separation. That's what we've been looking for their entire career, is separation. Now Messi has that. But if I'm fielding a team, I'm picking the physicality of Pele. I'm picking Pele before Messi because I think Pele's a better built soccer player. And that's the whole thing that I meant why Messi's the great and why he's the GOAT. He's not built to play the sport. He's tiny. He's small. I think there's value to that. I feel Pele. And the skill level. I mean, Pele's a big game player. He's got it on a shoelace.
I think we're incredibly biased because we never got to watch Pele. We never got to see him. But there's also something to be said for who was Pele playing against?
Oh yeah, you brought this up.
And who was Messi playing against? It's the whole conversation that MJ won 6 titles, but look at the ballers he was playing against. The guys that he was winning titles against. While LeBron, he's played against some strong names too, but was the league as stacked? And I don't know. I don't claim to know anything about the NBA, but was the games that Pele played in his career versus the same, does that opposition stack up to the teams that Messi has played and also defeated? And I disagree with you 100%, X. If I'm doing a world's greatest 11, Messi's in it. He's in
over Pele?
Yeah. Pele doesn't make my starting 11. He doesn't even make my starting 11. But again, that's biased because of the kind of team I would build based on the type of soccer I've watched my whole life.
This is true. It is about what type of soccer you would build, right? Because I like right.
So I think one thing that you have to keep into consideration is yes, those guys played against the best of their time, and Messi's played against the best of his time. But you also have to look at the evolution of not only the sport, but the talent level, the skill itself. I'll use a football example. Like, there's a Browns quarterback. I think it's Otto Graham. I might be wrong. If anybody's a Browns fan, you'll probably correct me. But I think it's Otto Graham, and Otto Graham is an NFL Hall of Famer. And Otto Graham has all these records. And you look at what he did against the talent he played against, and yeah, it's understandable. But he's not outrunning Ray Lewis at linebacker. He's not outrunning, Micah Parsons today at linebacker, And I think that's some things that you have to take into consideration. And I think that's one reason why you actually put Messi in a special category, because the type of skill he has is very, very rare. And, it's not all built on speed. It's built on on vision. It's built on skill. It's just God-given talent too. And I mean, for me, Messi, until I see Mbappe do some things that Messi's done, I mean, Messi's the GOAT, and he's won everything that he needed to. For me to I mean, like, what else can he win at this point? Like, we were joking, like, hey, I'd be done. I'm coming on in the 80th
I'd be
minute
done.
going forward, you know.
100% hang my hat on.
But I mean, what else is there for him to win? He's won the Ballon d'Or multiple times. He's won the Champions League. He's now won a World Cup. He's won the Copa, which will, whatever. You know, he's won it all. What else is there for him to win?
Got like 11 Copa del Rey's, or he's got something
Actually,
like 8
PSG
Copa del Rey's or something like that.
PSG needs a Champions League.
So if he goes and does that,
Mbappe's gonna do that. Mbappe's just pissed.
Mbappe will,
now, so
right?
he's, you know.
There's no stopping that man the rest of the season. I'm
No.
scared. I'd be scared to line up against Kylian Mbappe.
you have
the
to
rest of the
see him in the Champions League. You're just like, oh,
no,
man.
no. I'm like, oh no, he's
We're
getting
already
this
2
one.
goals down at this point.
He's getting this one. He's eating that whole cup. He's eating a bowl of cereal out of that tonight. Like, yeah, no.
Well, that's a question. I mean, I agree with you guys about I'm just talking about the PSG point. But I think if Messi wins a Champions League with PSG, that would be huge for his resume. But then you ask the question, but who's the guy on that team? Because I mean, we talked about Messi and Mbappe, but we left Neymar all the way out. And I mean, he matters too. Now, I mean, there's really a separation. He's not obviously that guy, but he's still a guy that's, upper echelon. So you think, how does that play into the narrative? But in addition to that, and I think some of it gets left out, is the teams that Messi has played on he's played with some of the greatest players ever. Like he played with Iniesta. I mean, come on, man. He had Guardiola as his manager. He played with Carlos Pulio. I mean, it just
Messi, Henry, and Eto'o in the front.
No, I know.
What?
Ibrahimovic at one time too, right?
Yeah.
Ronaldinho? No, Ronaldinho.
Yeah, he played with
Ronaldinho.
And that's where
Who's my point with Patrick. Like, there's some players that I think did, and this is the Messi point, right? To incorporate it. He took a little bit from all of those guys, and this is what kind of makes him the GOAT in my mind. If you're gonna run it, Messi's the GOAT. Much as I don't like to admit it, I hate seeing the separation between him and Ronaldo. It's bittersweet for me in this moment that we're seeing. But if you're going to run it, Messi took what Ronaldinho did, what I would say was one of the best dribblers ever to play the game. I think he's the GOAT at dribbling. Messi took that and said, okay, I can do that. I can be a 9.9. I'm not as good as you at doing this, but I can mimic everything you're doing and put it with, all right, I played forward get behinds with Samuel Eto'o. I know how to lead behind a defender and make him lose space of me mentally, not know where I'm at on this field, so I can pop out of nowhere and deke one in. Like, he took a little bit of all of these guys' game. Obviously, he didn't take Ibrahimovic's game. No one's that big, no one's that brute, unless you're in Holland, I would say right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're not. No one's gonna scissor kick, bicycle, scorpion you to the face. Ibrahimovic will.
Yeah.
But a little bit of all of these guys and really adapted that to his game, which has to go to the point that Lewis really just kind of hit the nail really brought home. He played with some of the greatest players in their position. He plays midfield. He can play midfield. He can go back into that midfield and piece things together because he played with Xavi. Like, he played with one of the best to ever do it.
But I think that's also where I think I'm giving Pele a little bit over him, because Messi had somebody to model after. Pele was the model. Like he was. Who was? I mean,
1970. That 1970 squad was stacked.
Yeah.
Rebellino, Jarzinho,
yeah.
Oh, Jarzinho.
But they weren't him. It's just he was a baby doing it. He was going, and he's like, hey man, let me figure this out. And this is where when they start making those comparisons, because they're doing the Mbappe to Pele thing.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty cool, because if his career takes that trajectory, my God, You know, you're just like, I think because of just the era we're in, how we find someone in our era, we attach to it. I think Messi has it pretty locked down for our contemporaries, where no one's going to surpass him. It'll take another generation to really like to shout over our generation for Messi not being the guy. But I think the people coming behind us watching Mbappe, if he does what Pele does, and he surpasses him, obviously league wide and on the international stage, it's a tall order. But I mean, it's all the path is laid for him.
It's not too tall for Mbappe. He's already smashed. He's already among the greatest World Cup players
Ever.
already, and he's already won.
Yep.
So, to your point, Lewis, about, not really, taking all this entire conversation with a grain of salt, Messi is the greatest for now.
Yeah. Speaking of Messi, so since we're on that topic, I saw this today. Golly, my days are running together. So when he did the he mocked Louis van Gaal. Yeah.
Sure.
Did y'all see why?
Yeah.
Why?
Van Gaal said some inappropriate things, I would say, about South Americans.
That's not true. So when Van Gaal was manager at Barcelona, he got appointed manager and they paid for Riquelme. Well, he would not play Riquelme, said he didn't have any interest in him. So what he was doing was mocking Riquelme's celebration.
Huh. I did not hear anything about this.
I saw that earlier today, and I was looking into it, and there's some truth to it. So it's interesting.
Nice.
Because because Messi was at it may have been, I think Messi was at Barcelona at the time and loved Riquelme, and he took that as a slight.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you would think that's one of Messi's heroes, right? Riquelme is a great of Argentinian football.
So I mean, I just thought that interesting. I didn't know if y'all had seen it, but going back to the whole Messi GOAT talk, I hate having this discussion. Like they talk about Brady being the greatest quarterback of all time and this, that, and the other in NFL. And one thing that I look at is when you leave a team, what happens to that team? Does it fall apart or does it stay intact? Because if it stays intact, then the team was a collective to you. But if you leave that team and it falls apart, you were that team completely. Pep left. Barcelona was still good because they had Messi. But as soon as Messi left, Barcelona has fallen apart.
I don't know, man. Barcelona's last 3 seasons with Messi were struggle bus city.
Yeah, man.
Messi left Barcelona. Messi divorced Barcelona. Barcelona had everything. I'm talking about money, investment.
Right, exactly.
Barcelona's bankrupt because Messi has left.
Yeah.
He hit them financially because of the investment they made on him. But I think he left because the ship had so many holes in it.
Yeah.
That Barcelona squad that he left was already in shambles. They did not give him any supporting cast. After they spent their money frivolously. And
Braithwaite. Why did they buy Braithwaite?
Bro. They will spend $50 million on nobody real quick.
Yeah.
And it begs 2 questions. So I agree. I agree and disagree on the Barcelona point, because Pep left the team, but he left it with somebody who was like his understudy. And then they just kind of ran the system, and the system has run itself, because you see that sort of Dutch mentality football was kind of there. And once they went away from people like that, they kind of lost it. But I was going to ask the question about who is next to lead Argentina, because I mean, obviously there was a story that Messi was going to retire, and now the story came out either today or late yesterday that Messi's like, I don't know if I want to retire from international football, and this is like the 14th time he's retired because of whatever. Yeah. But I do wonder, so who leads Argentina? Because I mean, they used to have a solid young core, and the question is, so what do they do next if this is his last international tournament?
It's your boy.
It's gotta be Fernandez. Or I mean, yeah, Julian. Yeah,
It's your boy Alvarez.
Alvarez. Sorry, Alvarez.
I mean,
don't know where
I'm
Fernandez
telling you
came from.
that final was the first time I looked at him, and I was like, if I'm in opposition, I kind of hate that guy because I mean, he had like 1,000 fouls, and it was funny
Tell
because
him, man.
I mean, we asked each other the question: is like, is Alvarez gonna get a yellow? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think it was really interesting that Fernandez got the young player
Yeah.
of the tournament. So maybe there's your answer. Enzo Fernandez coming through. I thought he had a magnificent tournament.
I agree.
So maybe that's it. Maybe
Well, we know
that's it.
France is in good hands. So
Yeah.
England's in good hands. France is in good hands. We're gonna have some.
Even the
good-
US, man, we got a a long road to get there, but we'll
Spain's
be
in
there.
good hands.
I can no longer accept the long road after Morocco. Can't accept it anymore. Can't accept
Yeah, exactly.
it. Can't accept that anymore. There's no more excuses now. You show up, you know?
Yep.
I meant the individuals, the team itself, the guys on the team itself. Like Berhalter's got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Or
He
he's
needs
got
to go.
he either needs to go and we need to get somebody really experienced, or I mean, I would not hate them letting him grow with that team. But yeah, I mean, I agree. There's no more excuses for not having a deep run and for that kind of crashing out in such a fashion.
The
Yeah.
problem with Berhalter is he does not have an attacking mindset, and that's fine in CONCACAF because you're going to pretty much overwhelm everybody except for Mexico and Canada at this point. But who knows if that's a fluke or if that's going to be,
Horrible.
or if that's going to. I mean, in qualifying, but again, that kind of proves my point again about the U.S. Canada just outran everybody. But as soon as they got to the World Cup, oh, these guys are as fast as us. We gotta have some tactics. We gotta have some skill. Berhalter is too married to a defensive setup, but a defensive setup with no chance whatsoever of trying to score. I'd understand if it was counterattacking, but I saw something where Pulisic had the fourth most touches in the box in the whole World Cup.
Damn. We just need
How many
somebody
goals
that
we
can
scored?
score. Like
How
you
many-
gotta have somebody that can put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Straight
So
up.
that's my point. I mean, what? And I've said it probably 6 podcasts now. There was no way the U.S. was scoring. I don't care. It was going to take a fluke. Haji, right? There was just no way the U.S. was scoring, and that comes down to the coach. There was no tactics whatsoever on actually attacking the goal. It was always let's grab one and play defense.
Isn't it shocking that we don't have a Zlatan or Holland here? I mean,
They all play football. They all play
They all play
basketball.
football and basketball.
They all play basketball.
it's time to start paying them or something, man.
I agree 100%.
Most definitely.
It's the domestic, and that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is in North America. The domestic league does not have. England has what, 4 leagues to farm into each other, to all support the Premier League, to all put these academy players from, to all grow the actual mindset for the game and the culture behind it. That's why I will say from 100 years from now, that's why we're 100. That's what basketball has. That's what
We need
football has.
Americans to buy American teams.
Right.
We don't need McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds going and buying some Welsh team. We don't need Michael B. Jordan going and buying Bournemouth. Buy American teams.
But
You
you know,
know,
a part of that
put
reason
money
is,
But there's no money there.
best men's team.
yeah, and the relegation model is really, really important, which
It is.
no American sports owner would support in the
Nope.
United States. It's
we created the
I'll
NFL.
tell you what the biggest issue is.
No,
I'll tell you what the biggest issue is, and y'all are going to probably laugh when I say this. It's college athletics. because
that's
it's
our
a
farm system.
totally
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
our farm system.
totally different mindset.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
when you're in high school, unless you're diehard fans like we are, when you're in high school, your goal is to get to college.
Yep.
When you
Climb
are
the
a
ladder.
diehard soccer player, your goal is I want to get to academy so I can go overseas.
I can play anywhere I want. Right.
Yeah.
I'll go to San Juan, Mexico, and play for Club Flamingo. I know that's a Brazilian, but whatever it is. And I'll play for a no-name squad that can make a promotion to play in their D1 because I know their D1 is farmed. It's baseball. Baseball has this international
Mhm.
setup. Baseball understood it.
Yep.
An interesting thing is I have a story.
Baseball's
about
very
that,
old.
because I told you guys I coached in college, and the funny thing is that there's a competition already, and this is about the money in sports. When I coached the varsity team at the high school I coached at, the best players didn't want to play for the school because club is where it was, and so the really good players would play club. And then I had one or two who would play club and then they would play for the school. But as soon as they were juniors in high school, they wanted to play, they wanted looking to get contracts. Because I mean, you're 16, 17 years old, you're trying to be in someone's academy. So when we actually had a guy, he got offered a full ride to play at a big D1 school, but then he got an offer to play internationally. He took the international offer and everyone said he was crazy for that.
No,
It's
bye.
because we
I'll
don't
play soccer for the rest
understand
of my life. Bye.
Yep.
I'll play soccer for the rest of my physical ability life, and hopefully I can make at least 3, 4, 5 mil playing in a championship league squad, making 60 grand a week. I'll play soccer for the rest of my life. That's the sacrifice those boys made. That is honestly one of the biggest things I struggle with
But
the
he's right.
American
It's
model.
American philosophy.
Oh yeah, I fell 100% into that American philosophy, and I hate looking at the game and how it's structured. And had I known that, had I known what I know about the game today, how big it truly is, bro, we could have went to South America. We could have left high school, played 2 years, or got fit at CSU, and then left. We could have left and played anywhere. We were fit. We were probably the physically most fit we've ever been doing those dumb drills.
And you know, it's funny.
Dumb drills.
It's funny. I got a buddy. His son is he's like early years, high school or whatever. And because I mean, I don't know when he had him or whatever, but he asked me because he knew I coached different levels. And I remember when his son was really little, he said, "What should my son do?" I'm like, "You need to put in an academy." This kid now plays for the Dortmund Academy out in Texas. And he's gone to Germany and played. And his dad is literally, while he's getting his college scholarship offers, his dad is asking me, should he try to play abroad or should he go to college? There was zero hesitation. If they offer him something at an academy abroad, you go. You go.
There's
Well,
nothing you will not learn there that you have learned in college that you will use in your daily application or life.
Money, you can make more money playing soccer than if you got
exactly.
a 4-year degree.
It's a sham.
And another thing, if you look at it, all right, if you look at it, other than FC Dallas, because FC Dallas has actually sent some people through their academy overseas. Pulisic, right? Gio Reyna, those guys. Who else? Aronson, I think.
He started
United FC, baby.
They all
when he was like 13.
They all went through academies and they went overseas.
Fine.
They got away from the college model. And that's what my concern is with the whole MLS still being involved in the U.S. soccer men's national team, is because they're still drafting guys from college. They're drafting guys from college. So it's still the mindset that, oh, if I want to play soccer in the U.S., I got to go to college to be able to play in the MLS. And then, oh, those guys, they actually eventually do get to go overseas. But by the time they get to go overseas,
do it when you're 12. Yep.
Their skill level is no longer growing. It's just staying stagnant.
Brazil, you will get way better playing in the streets of Brazil or in Mexico playing wall ball or indoor than you ever will playing.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because there's no money in college soccer. There's zero money in college soccer. If you compare the money in college soccer to basketball or football or even hockey, like there's no money in college soccer at all.
There's no money in MLS because
there's no money in MLS. Yeah.
you mentioned the draft. Well, if I'm Erling Haaland would be an example. Erling Haaland fits the big physical guy model.
Yep.
If there was money in playing in the States, a lot of these European guys would have come here. But there's no money to play here.
They
So
retired here.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and so we get all the washed up people. So for example, I mentioned in the chat the other day, I was like, does Messi retire after this? Because I mean, there's no better Michael Jordan Game 6 hit the shot hanging than what Messi did. There's nothing else to do, as you guys have said. And so he could walk away, and the legend of Messi, like, you think it's big now. It would be insane if he just hung it up. If he said at New Year's Eve, that's it.
Buys
That means
himself out of his Paris contract.
Yeah.
It would
Use the World Cup money. Buy yourself out of your Paris contract. I'm going to spend the rest of my life on the yacht.
He
Bye.
wouldn't even have to. Someone would do it for him. That's
Yeah.
the power he would have, where someone would do it for him if he said, "Hey, I'm hanging it up. Y'all can follow me around for the next year. Let's do a documentary." His life, I mean, clearly his life is taking over. But everyone has said to me, either, and this is getting back to my point about Americans. He would. I say, does he retire? And the first response everyone says is he has to go to MLS. He has to get the American money. And I get it, but that's why do we have to be the washed up league? And so that's the only time you can get money is when you're old and washed up in the MLS. We're not rewarding the young, talented people. They see this. And when they see this, like Gareth Bale, who was playing golf and, doing whatever, it came off the golf course and won the MLS Cup. And you just look at that and you're like, if I'm a young guy, I come here when I'm done. I don't come here when I'm starting. And if that's the case, no one's going to come here for that. But then you go back, and I don't know how much we remember contemporary-wise, Freddie Adu. Freddie Adu, everyone thought he was a world beater. He got against a European competition, and they was like, well, I guess he's just kind of normal.
The anonymity. You have no idea where he is now.
Yedlin.
And it's not a
did the
knock on
same
him.
exact thing.
I wish him the best, but
But see,
we set him up for failure.
But all right, so another point to this though is with the college model, you're talking about guys who are going through, first off, poor training in general. I mean, even the best of the best. Mike Noonan at Clemson is amazing. Great coach, but on his best day, is probably not as good as a championship level manager in England.
Petr Cech at the youth academy at Chelsea? Nah, bro. I'm good. I'm gonna go listen
Exactly.
to Petr Cech.
And so
Right.
you're talking about, okay, so they go to college 18, they're eligible, I think, to go to draft it after their junior year, I think it is. So we're talking about 21, right? So 21, 22, they're going to the MLS. By the time they actually hit their stride to be able to move over, they're so far behind in talent that it gets exposed. I mean, you look at Miguel Almiron. He tore up the MLS. It took him a year and a half to catch up to the speed of England and the Premier League.
The funny thing is you mentioned age. You said 22, 23. How old is Mbappe? How old is Haaland?
24.
Like, I mean, what? Like, you can't still be around college. I'm not knocking college people, but you can't be around college sort of
level playing people,
Yeah.
right?
You're not challenged.
It's the Messi thing. You're only going to be as good as the people you play with or against. He played with the best every day in practice. So that way, when he went up against the best on another team, this seemed easy running through their midfield because he just had to run through two of the best ones to ever do it. And Busquets is right there to clean up all the mess. So if he does deke and dive through everybody, he's going to get wrecked. Like,
He did it with example of this.
So that's why he is the best.
Perfect example of this. Jordan Morris. Jordan Morris in college, unbelievable. Dude scored a hat trick against Clemson in the national championship game. Straight baller. Dude's terrible. Terrible. He's great in MLS.
Good.
But if you see him coming on for the national team, you're like, oh God, this isn't good.
He didn't have a great time at Seattle. We're
just behind. It's not in our culture. Our culture's been pushed so far.
Do you guys remember Bill Hamid, the keeper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, when I was coaching at the university I worked at, the goalkeeper coach that I worked with knew Bill Hamid, and this was like he was training, and he was projected to be like the next starting guy for the U.S. national team, but he was in college, and you look at that, and you're like, our best hope was there, and he's not. I mean, he should be in his prime right now. Like goalkeepers play until they're like 40,
Yeah.
and not even. It's just weird because you're just like,
It speaks to
why?
I think it
Matt
truly
Turner's a
speaks to the-
perfect example.
I think it truly speaks to the physicality game that we are talking about, and why it's beautiful, why we love this game, particularly why we've chosen this game to focus on, and why the culture really comes with it. Basketball players are not in their prime until they are in their mid to late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
You field me a team of prime LeBrons at 25, 26, maybe 27, 28, because he got better.
Yeah.
He just got better. So like if that's the case, because they're refining their skill because it's confined, they understand the game more. It's a smaller, not a smaller game. It is, but it's not a smaller game, but it's a smaller area of practice. But those guys aren't in their prime. Prime football players, they tend to be somewhat on the lower end because of the injury rate in the sport. But again, Antonio Hawk, these receivers we see usually hit their stride somewhere in their later 20s because they have the skill refined. They understand the game. They understand their QB. They have that relationship. This game, you cannot play that well. While you are skill refined, you will physically get out, beat, and punished by the 18-year-old Kylian Mbappe because he can run 23 miles per hour still, and you can't. That's why we see this decline in Ronaldo. Ronaldo might have all the skill in the world he needs to be playing at this level, and I don't doubt that for a minute. It's the physicality that you will be lacking when you go to run up against a 19-year-old Jude Bellingham who's just blasting by you in the midfield, making you look like you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the physicality of this game is not, and it kind of encompasses the thing that kind of what you were talking about when I popped in, the World Cup being in the middle of the season. I think the ramifications of this kind of we'll see it. I think we saw it a little bit before. We'll definitely start seeing it after. And I'm real worried about the returning injuries. That's why I'm super thankful that Chelsea only had we only had 4 guys. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
but the physicality of this game is to not be spoken for, and the American model isn't set up for young physicality or development. It's set up for the longevity to do it when you're older, because the games we focus on here are refined at the older, especially the higher paid positions. You're 19, you're 20, you're 21-year-old quarterback, they're going to get absolutely blasted in the NFL. We've proven it. They can't do it. The 19, 20-year-old in the NBA, while he might be okay and good, he's going to get physically out. He's going to get blasted in the NBA. Shaquille O'Neal at 21 versus Shaquille O'Neal at 28. There is a huge, stupid difference.
You know what's funny? You bring up a point that what actually shows that the mental aspect and the skill aspect of the game is actually taught inversely in these states compared to abroad. Because if you're using the international model, look at Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic. These guys are mentally, they're not physically better than anyone in the NBA, but mentally they're so much better. And they're only going to get better mentally. So you're like, what are they learning? And so I just think they out physical. We work it the other way, because when we talk about, you mentioned the physical, and we think physical, big, bulky, all that, but it's about knowing how to use your body with your brain. And this is where you saw like Phil Foden, and he just stands out because he's frail. But you're not knocking him off the ball, and because he knows how to use his body. Mbappe, he's not a big guy, and he's only gonna get better. And Ronaldo, when he was young, same thing. You look at
same thing with Messi.
For how big and bulky he is, just like Ibrahimovic should not be doing the skill set and have the acrobat type of traits to some of their moves. Being that large, they wouldn't be able to. I don't see basketball players who are
he uses Molitor, so he carries Thor's hammer around, so he's got magic.
But it makes me. It's the first time I question that we're building up the players physically in the States first before we build their minds, where it's
Yeah.
just happening the opposite way everywhere else.
Because we play way more physical games. I think the game of basketball is very much so big. It's big. We've pushed it to be big man. If you're not 6 foot,
Mhm.
used to be the point guard could be 5'9", 5'10", 5'11". NBA point guard 6'1", 6'2", 6'3".
Devil's advocate though, the NFL like is a very tactical game. Like football,
Oh
like
yeah,
you have to win the line of scrimmage. Like it's not like
Mhm.
big man
It's not
game
just-
though.
it's not just toss the rock or have a fast guy run the ball. Like the NFL is one on the line. It's
Mhm.
Rugby, yeah, you're not gonna see right. It's the
Well-
whole. It's the difference between where we put our focus, and you're right. I think because we play these big man physical sports, we understand. Okay, if you're bigger, you can win more. You can
But
do this
everybody's
in the
that big in the NFL.
But-
everybody's that big.
Yeah.
right.
But another
And
thing
not
to
everybody
keep
needs to be that big to play soccer. You can field a Lionel Messi and a Romelu Lukaku, who is 6'4", bulky, or an Erling Haaland, who's a giant. Have them be at least a little bit knowing how to use their feet, and you can put use to them on the soccer field. You can
Well,
find
another
a position to do so.
another thing to kind of to bring this all together is we went from Bruce Arena where it was a little bit of skill, but it was still physicality, to Bob Bradley where it was a college game. It was kick it upfield, use your speed, try to, and now we're working towards, because we've got guys that know how to have a first touch and they know how to make a move. And, there for a while, and we were talking about the heart of the US. Was this team have that heart? Because it used to be when you played the US, you were in for a fight because they were just going to physically try to beat up on you. But the skill was lacking. And that's where the US always would lose, the skill. We mentioned this after I think after the US got knocked out. Not tactically, but skill-wise, we actually played the game. Like, we actually played the game. It was not kick it upfield, try to run up on it, and bully your way into the goal. It was actually with some skill involved. And I think the reason why is because you've got these guys who have learned at a young age, this is how you touch the ball, this is how you make a pass. This is, it's not, okay, you're the biggest kid on the field, all right, you're going to play goalie. No, we want, or not goalie, shoot. You're going to play striker. No, we want the guy that can make a move, that can go and score. You look at Leo Messi, Messi's 5'7". You should be able to push him off the ball like that.
You used to could. This is where I have a real big issue with, again, going back to the GOAT thing. And this is, again, I love this. This is my problem with the game. And this goes through the whole thing. They used to could. And when you could, Leo was not winning titles internationally. They protect these guys, and we've seen the shift in the game in our era of the game. We lost the Rio Ferdinands. We lost the John Terrys. We lost Pujols. We lost the boys who would come in and absolutely just bully you off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They will break your leg. They will push you over, ball or man. Now they kick you out for that.
Yeah.
And that era of the game where Messi was young, while he was a phenomenal player internationally, could not win internationally.
Yeah.
We changed the game to mirror a striker's mentality, to have more goals, to have more shootouts, to have a less defensive game, because defenders are having their feet tied and what they can and can't do. VAR now, I think, is more of a defender's enemy than it is a offender's aid. Or I think it's an offender's aid more so than it is a defender's. I think it hurts the defense, because in some of those instances where now they let the passage of play go so far, and the offenders are told to finish out these plays, and the defenders, it just goes against that natural instinct where if you know that dude's offsides, he's offsides. Like, I don't keep running with him to make it look like he was onsides. That's not in the natural mindset of a defender, especially not whenever I was being brought up or watched the game or learned to watch the game from defenders. Like, it was, no, I'm stopping right here, he's offsides, dude man's flags up, and now that can get overturned too. Like, even if my lineman messes up and VAR says he's on sides, now it counts too.
Yeah, it's funny
Like,
you bring that that point up because there was a thing that came up for the handball, right? The Argentine handball at the end, where they said they showed a different angle and it wasn't a handball, and it looks like it's something where it looked like it hit his hand, but it didn't. I mean, I didn't really see the angle, and so the question was asked, why wasn't VAR brought up to show the angle there? And it goes to the point that you were making, is that they want goals, and so
Yep.
you can say normally VAR, because think about it, for the last maybe 5 games, we all in the chats were like, "Where's VAR?" Like they weren't
Gone.
questioning
They
anything.
wanted the goals, right? Because everyone says everyone's major complaint, especially in America and especially on this hemisphere. What is the number one complaint you hear about this game from anyone that doesn't watch it? Oh, it's
Not enough
boring.
scoring.
It's low scoring. I think
But
that's
that's also
far-
why everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, it was an amazing game."
right. But I don't understand this either because we watch football games and it's 23-21, and we're like, oh, that was an awesome football game. No, bro, it was only 3-4. Like
Yes.
that's low scoring too. Like we just make up points because it makes us feel
You
better
just-
and it sounds better in American psychology. But
Yeah.
that has to go with the culture of all of this as
Yeah.
well. But anyway, the major thing here, yeah, like I just absolutely don't understand how it's not consistent. And that's the issue that I have with VAR. That's the issue where we were asking for it in the tournament. And then some of these calls that were like, that's why the refs got called out so much, I think, by the players, is because now it's become a crutch so much to where they're like, and it's just become an offender's game. It's lost its physicality in that sense. And I think some of the players that we mentioned in defense, and we think back to like, oh, they were a great defender. They would not be on the field long enough to be a good defender today.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think they'd be just
we've definitely had consistency
lot.
issues with VAR since it's begun.
origin for sure.
But all in all, I think that it's been an absolutely wonderful tournament.
Absolutely.
It
Couldn't
brought
have asked for a better
it
tournament.
brought us together for one thing, and I think since we've eclipsed 2 hours here, we're gonna have to wrap it. I think this definitely been a good episode. Again, I've certainly enjoyed it. It's been an absolutely wonderful World Cup. Obviously, we already can't wait for the next one. This has been
It's
the
at
Fourth
home.
Back podcast. Yeah, it's here at home. I hope you've enjoyed listening. Hope you've enjoyed it all as much as we have. We will be back very soon with more Premier League action. It's getting back underway. And of course, we are super pumped about that as well. So go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell for the new episodes upcoming. Thanks again for listening. Have a good night.